My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is P.O.C. This is Ontario Police engaging in what is molestation with engineered light. They're at the Ontario City Hall driving through the Civic Center. They're doing so at 1:36 a.m. This is following stalking by helicopter with the people of the state that are coming stalking with this department. That's engaging in what is also monitoring on my device regarding video evidence that the entity stole. This is P.O.C. This is stalking by the police department. You're looking at demons, and they are engaging in stalking me. This is the entity that's engaging in doing so while they are stalking under the fake sun. The entity is stalking by helicopter at the Upland Public Library as well. This is the entity that's targeting where they know that I'm sleeping. This isn't policing or law enforcement, just like they're stalking at the Ontario Police Station like I documented today. This is terrorism and they are being disbanded. This is the pattern of conduct. And Rodriguez that committed kidnapping on Monday, he is going to prison. Okay, this is P.O.C. It is currently 1:37 a.m. while a police department is engaging in unadulterated stalking, which is what this malnutrition demon sat right here stalking me with light while the entity was stalking me by helicopter, doing so on behalf of that department. They're not police officers. They're not engaged in law enforcement, and they're stalking, just like I'm showing you the people of the state. This is P.O.C. It is currently 1:37 a.m. That's psychological torture. That's threatening me. That is literally stalking, and it's criminal monitoring. And they are doing it at the city hall. Paul Leon's being prosecuted. He's not just being removed from office, he's being federally prosecuted. While the entity is gang stalking at the Ontario City Hall. This is P.O.C. It's 1:38 a.m. This is P.O.C. This is where the entity is indeed stalking. Yeah, that was exactly what the Ontario Police Department were doing. And you're paying attention to the chain of evidence. That's exactly what the U.S. military was doing to me by helicopter. And that's exactly what the people of the state, the little anorexic demon, had the audacity to stalk me in my face. And then the entity wants to falsely depict the character of American citizens whom it is targeting, stalking, harassing, threatening, torturing, and wants to refer to you as mentally ill, or wants to engage in even criminal summoning when the police aren't even engaged in law enforcement. They're stalking with the people, targeting you together, entrapping you, okay? Setting you up. This is the entity that's engaged in that. The Ontario police were stalking. This was less than 30 minutes ago. This is the same venue. And the entity is doing so, again, monitoring on my phone while my evidence is being created to publish on the internet. Evidence about their criminal activity, which they are continuously engaging in real time. Like I stated, that was not law enforcement. The entity is engaging what is stalking me, and this is what they've been doing while I am at a job, making money and interfering with that liberty right in order to create this very circumstance where then you would claim that you are committing what is the duty of an officer, conducting an arrest pursuant to what is the alleged violation of the municipal code, where you're serving to criminalize homelessness that you create by this very system. And you're not even engaged in law enforcement when you do so. It's the pattern of conduct, just like I saw you see tonight, stalking me, not engaging in law enforcement. Targeting me, not engaging in law enforcement. And you are also not producing any warrants from kidnappings engaged in by this same entity. Understand this. Like I said, Rodriguez, who's committing kidnapping on Monday, July 13, 2026, he's going to federal prison. The evidence that's being published regarding what is theft of my communication devices, because the entity tried to tamper with the video so that it would not be published. It's going to be published. It's being published, but you're going to federal prison for that criminal conduct. This is the behavior of an entity that is stalking, that is monitoring, that's not even human, that's demon possessed, that engages in criminal activity against you and tries to project that criminal character onto other people, which is witchcraft, pursuant to mentally ill psychopathic disorders, while they are boldly stalking American citizens in their face while they're not even doing it secretly. I'm documenting it, and the demons are doing it on camera. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's stalking in traffic, stalking at the Ovid Family Community Library, stalking in police vehicles, stalking via aircraft. And these are demons that do so in the specific environment where I've shown you a fake sun rises and sets. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 2 o'clock in the morning. There are no flights scheduled right now. And there are no flights, no passengers, and you're not headed to a destination. You are stalking me while you are doing a U-turn over the senior center that's going to be defunded. This is P.O.C. It's currently 2:02 a.m. This is flying over Ovid Family Community Library and the downtown Ontario luxury apartments. What you're paying attention to as this evidence is being organized with regard to prosecuting the defendants, who are the people of the state, stalking on the roads and the highways. And they are also stalking as the establishments themselves are in relevant position and are sharing in activity, especially as the government, the military, the police are engaging in hovering over those venues where the people of the state are monitoring with communication devices, where they are present, stalking in the path, and the entities maintaining activity, audible activity. There are no flights where Southwest Airlines or any airline is going to hover over the 320 North Euclid Avenue apartments. This is where the entity is sharing in that activity creation. They're inside of their apartments monitoring. in relevant position, where I'm showing you the fake sun is rising and setting. And this is Sarah's Regis Group. That's Ovid Family Community Library. And you're also paying attention to the video that I captured earlier. Overnight, the entity is not hovering over downtown Ontario luxury apartments. The entity is hovering over the John Stewart apartments over here, over there. The entity is migrating as I am migrating. So hovering the buildings as I'm walking by them, and you are stalking behind me, following behind me. And as I walk in this direction, the entity that maintains plane activity south of my person is doing the same thing in this direction, stalking, following from place to place, and literally monitoring me as you are stalking and doing as residents. This is light activity and relevant positioning in this parking garage that you also know is filled with engineer light. And this is the prosecution of the people of the state, every occupant, impossible light moving across this. Yeah, they're all being prosecuted. These are co-defendants. All right, they're gang stalking while the government flies over that building. License plate 9UXB073, who was stalking with light, just like the demon that is anorexic, stalking me with light outside at the library last night. That's what this is in a vehicle. P.O.C. And this is what they're doing on the roads and the highway, stalking, and the entity is stalking in the sky space in the building where they're all monitoring. Where the government's flying over the building, everybody in that building is gang stalking. Okay, the entity does so even if it's an abandoned building, the people of the state are around that building, relevant position, you will be federally prosecuted. This is teaching the people of the state, such as Reliable Properties, Sarah's Regis Group, GL Partners, MIG Real Estate, the entity that is the John Stewart Company, Avanath Capital Management, Speaker Companies Incorporated, you have the Ontario Village Shopping Center, and any other establishment. This is how those persons under the law, corporate entities, are being federally prosecuted as the stalkers that you are, while the people of the state and the government are targeting. License 8YLM194. And by the way, you're going to want to understand how the people of the state are now causing you money, and you are criminally liable. This is the pattern of conduct. This is where that mental illness and that public corruption is now going to cost you. And it is not just monetary, it's criminal. 5:52 a.m. P.O.C. This is P.O.C. This is the city of Upland. That is an the fake sun is over me at the Veterans Monument at 9:37 a.m. It's called stalking, and it's also demon possession evident to you, while a psychopath is relying on your ignorance about a system that surrounds the target individual, while you're engaging in what is stalking as an entity. And this demon in particular is lagging around demon-possessed children while she's monitoring me, engaging in criminal summoning while the entity flies over my head by aircraft. And she's engaging in this as also based on the presuppositions of an ignorant people that are maintaining, I'll say, presuppositions regarding the unlikelihood that a white woman is stalking a black woman, because that's what you're looking at. And she is not a human, and she is also not a white woman. She's a demon, and she is stalking me. She's stalking with her kids, and she is stalking perfectly in the path while you see science to serve for what is loss of custody, martial law, and also what is federal prison. This is the entity that's engaged in this. While you'll recall, the entity has a fake sun over me upon my exit of the public library yesterday evening. You will also see that which is not a human, that which is a demon, that unfortunately procreate and engage in what is targeting and using and relying upon what are the illusions that the demon possessed who are monitoring us in the United States are relying upon with regard to the fact that it's quote unquote, it's impossible to be stalking somebody that you don't know. It's impossible to be stalking somebody when you're not looking at them. It's impossible to be stalking somebody when you don't talk to them. It's impossible to be stalking somebody if you deny it. In other words, this is the entity that's doing so with the government that's also very highly unintelligent while they engage in providing the evidence against the people of the state, such as the entity that's flying up of my head in the white aircraft. Okay, that's the military. The same military that was stalking me as I'm walking this morning on Euclid Avenue, where UPS, Southwest Airlines, the airline company, there are no flights that are taking off from the airport, progressively migrating north up Euclid Avenue. There's no sun that's remaining at the Ovid Family Community Library while it's over me at the Upland Public Library. There is no ignorant person that's in that scientifically impossible environment in concert with the military that's obsessively stalking, and so are the demons. This is the malnutrition, the anorexic demon stalking with light last night, while you're looking at a group of them doing the same thing. This is stalking with light, and that's what that demon was doing with the entity that was stalking, remember, by helicopter, the same military that's flying over my head right now. This is the P.O.C. Alrighty, this psychopathic pattern that belongs to the government is the reason why the people of the state are going to federal prison and they're being committed. Okay, the criminal system of gang stalking. Gang stalking is a criminal surveillance system which is satanic, meaning it is supernatural. And you will see the fake sun remain over me while psychopaths look to the left and right while they are determined to engage in stalking. Okay, that's what you're looking at, not looking at the names on the monument, that they're engaging in what is stalking in the path. Okay, the entities engaging in what is stalking me as a population while a fake sun remains over me. And the entities doing so, as you'll recall, also more evidence to expose to you demons that are obsessed, demons that don't have a race, demons that don't have an IQ, demons that don't have any bar with regard to what is proper and improper, with regard to where is the level to which you should stop. This is the inability to restrain oneself. This is the necessity of martial law. This is where the fake sun is at after 5 p.m. yesterday, where the military was stalking by helicopter while I was on the inside of this building where people are surrounding. That's what this is, surveillance. And this is the location of the fake sun when I'm inside of the Upland Public Library, while what I'm doing on the internet is under surveillance. The entities surrounding at the corners. That's called crossing path. They're making sure they're in the path and there's no place where I'm in that environment and the entity is coincidentally or ignorantly there. They're stalking on the roads and the highways. And they are demons who know who you are, and that is the proof of it. This is the fake sun that's over me while I'm outside of the same building that I'm inside of. Yesterday, where Adam Tuckerman is gang stalking me and Ashley is gang stalking me, and the people of the state are gang stalking sitting inside of this library that has the fake sun over me now at 9:43 a.m. And this is the same circumstance when I'm inside of the building after 5 p.m. while the entity is stalking, amplifying helicopter activity, which is why all of the demons of the public library are going to federal prison, which is how you will prosecute any act of terrorism committed by the city. Moreover, this is where the entity has the fake sun over me yesterday evening, where American Medical Response, again, the city of Upland, is targeting me upon my exit of this Upland Public Library, where the sun would not be 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, over the street where the demon-possessed people of the state that are stalking on the roads and the highways, who do not have car accidents, who do not have emergencies, the necessity of sirens and lights. They're engaging in surveillance while the demons, the mentally ill of American Medical Response at D Street and Euclid, are gang stalking. And I documented their license plates, and they're stalking just like 8YFC090, and criminal summoning is the basis of federal prison. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:44 a.m. and while this fake sun removes itself and moves in alignment to me, the lily white demons at the Veterans Monument, you're looking at the entity that is engaging what is relying upon your ignorance, relying upon the color of your skin as some means for you to remove the notion that you are being followed by people that you don't know. They're not people. You're right, but they're not people, they're demons. Okay, and you'll be prosecuted where you work, where you're just occupying space, where you live, as you travel. And while the government tells on you stalking in the sky space, which is what I'm documenting. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:44 a.m. That's referred to as criminal summoning. And it's vividly recognized when I'm in this library in the middle of the afternoon and this same light activity is present. And these are stalkers that are surrounding me, engaging in what is the agency of gang stalking, which is an exceedingly violent sex offense, which they also maintain in the bathrooms. And the fake sun. This is the P.O.C. The entities engaging in what is specifically threatening me while the employees are engaging in it. The employees are going to prison for everything that the entity is committing. The entities engaging in this while they're keeping the investigation itself under surveillance. And this is the federal prosecution, COLLIN, SHEEHY, MARCELO, BLANCO, the U.S. military that is engaging in targeting with the city of Upland, and all of the constituents within the city of Upland are being federally prosecuted. This is a reference to martial law. Okay, this is not just criminal, it's psychopathic. Alrighty, this is the entity that's engaging with a level of impunity that is necessitating martial law as well. And what are involuntary commitments, which is precisely how gang stalking shall be prosecuted when that population is sliced down to that individual that is that entity that will be subject to a federal case against themselves. where no government can do anything other than incriminate you. This is the P.O.C. This is psychopathic pacing. One demon after. This is one plane after another. One plane after another. This is flying in circles by helicopter while the minions study their devices. This is the P.O.C. Okay. The entity has the fake sun while I'm seated at that location yesterday afternoon after 5 p.m. And even when I walk in this area, whichever, the fake sun over me, which is exactly where it's going to be if I walk over there. But as I show you, it's still over me while I'm inside of what is a chamber of torture, while the entity keeps that fake sun outside of all the windows over my head everywhere that I move. The sun is not going to be outside of any window right now and still remaining after 5 p.m. where the entity is amplifying sirens and engaging in what is monitoring me, psychopathic behavior with regard to psychological torture and furtherance of murder. And that is the government that is literally stalking in a building with the criminal cooperation of the people of the state, and that be the same circumstance where this fake sun, as you see on video yesterday, July 16th, 2026, where the entity has the fake sun after 5 p.m. That is a prosecution of an entire city. And the government that is maintaining criminal surveillance, this is the P.O.C. And this is psychopathic pacing while you're seeing the aerial surveillance. It is a prosecution of Cable Airport, but this is the military that's engaging in the P.O.C. with the people of the state of California. By the way, Gavin Newsom is directly aware of what I'm documenting. I'm exposing the governor while I'm in Ontario, Upland, California, whatever city, where no public official is ignorant about surveillance that's underway at this level. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:04 a.m. Criminal summoning is a federal offense. This is why the employees are going to prison for all of the above. Criminal summoning again as I get off of the elevator. This is the entity that is, again, silently stalking, silently threatening. While the government maintains that chorus of audible activity, the entity, the people, will be committed with this psychopathic pattern that they are very much. They might as well be blowing a horn with lights and sirens. That is the shared pattern of conduct. You're going to be committed while the police are stalking outside of the building. You're going to be committed while the entity is stalking by helicopter over the building. You're going to be committed while the entity is maintaining a fake sun over me while you're in that building. Maintaining silence, looking to the left and right is showing how much of a psychopathic disorder that needs to be treated. That is no longer closeted, that's what's exhibited. Not ignorance, coincidence, innocence. None of this is the absurdity of the non-humans, the creatures that are gang stalking, that are monitoring us. They're going to be put in mental institutions. Criminal summoning again as I get off the elevator. This is the entity that's engaged in psychological torture to its own demise. They're going to be committed. It's P.O.C. It's called malice. Malice by the unintelligent, the inferior, surrounding with communication devices. Hi, Ashley. Can I get a laptop, please? No problem. Ashley is gang stalking yesterday after 5 p.m. in the video where the entity is stalking by helicopter, and Ashley is under the fake sun right now at 10:07 a.m. Literally, her work schedule is putting her in prison. She's going to be subject to what are mental examinations. This is a psychopath, the undiagnosed population engaging in criminal monitoring. This is the P.O.C. This is someone that's psychologically torturing me as well. The one that's prosecuting her, very imprudent. She will be subject to prison. It's 10:07 a.m. Were you in line?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Let's see.
Thank you.
I was gonna say I didn't mean to cut.
No, of course.
So all of our laptops are not fully charged, but once this one dies, you can come get it.
Okay, sounds like it. Thank you, ma'am. Do you mind if we get a couple of paper towels, please? Is that okay? Thank you.
Yes. I'm not computer literate, that's why. How do I... Should I go back to the beginning and then send it to you? There's just one page, but there's all pages separate.
There's no plugs over here. Okay, what you are listening to is, and what you can see in the images is how the entity has me surrounded. So I'm in line, the fake sun's over the top of my head. Ashley's at the same reference desk that she was at yesterday after 5 p.m. It's 10 o'clock. She's going to prison. Very obvious. As you can see, the pattern of conduct gives you a vivid illustration of stalkers. Stalkers that target as an entity. So you're being distracted with a different face as you associate traditional stalking with the crime. And it's a government that's doing so through a population. And that population does so at their jobs. You're going to prison. All right? You're systematically facilitating terrorism, which is committed in furtherance of murdering an American citizen, while you psychologically torture them, which is only the conduct of mentally ill people, a mentally ill entity, which are actually demons. Remember, the mental illness is of a spirit. So you're talking about what is a condition that is invisible, and it manifests itself through behavior. This is not addressed when you're dealing with the corrupt entity that is criminally defaming. And while they are psychopathic themselves, they're demons in the medical field. And so you have what are the mentally ill that are psychologically torturing American citizens, stalking and monitoring them in order to kidnap and murder them and steal from them, steal their identity. This is what Tracy Banks and the U.S. government has done. This is 10:11 a.m. By virtue, like I stated, of the work schedule, Ashley can be seen as the very highly malicious psychopath that she is, targeting me and doing so with a smile on her face. And this is also how you're aware of you are not prosecuting or investigating, or guilt is not found or relied upon by the facial expression or the direction that the gang stalker is looking, that the demon is looking at. Satan himself presents himself as an angel of light. Okay, this is the level of malice that you're getting to, and everybody that works here is trapped. They're surrounded with evidence, and they're going to prison. All right, and they're psychopathic. As I document and I get very damning evidence, a fool is the one that engages in repeating that over and over again, and that's exactly what these demons do, and they're all going to prison. All right, it's currently 10:12 a.m. This is the entity that's maintaining landscaping. That's the same non-elite demons. They call themselves elite. That's a corporate actor, that little mom and pop shop that is likely hiring immigrants. I'm going to prosecute it, and that company shall die. But they're monitoring right now. It is currently 10:12 a.m. This is P.O.C. You will see the image of the means of audible activity that you hear competing with my voice, like the entity does with helicopter activity and with plane activity, where there are no takeoffs that are happening over the Ovid Family Community Library or the Civic Center. They're not happening at that frequency. They're not happening at that elevation. They're not happening at that volume. They're not happening over a senior citizen complex, over the city hall. It's also not happening in a natural environment where the sun would be over me and still over me, where Ashley is in the reference desk after 5 p.m. Elite is engaging in the pattern of conduct as a corporate entity, stalking in the path, and demons have that uncanny ability to be in alignment, to stalk, that is follow you with noise, while a bunch of psychopaths are mute while they engage in stalking you together. Okay, this is the entity that's engaged in that, and you will see the images captured. And this is the city of Upland that is gang stalking with Elite via Elite. So this is going toward the municipality that is being prosecuted. Bill Velto is not staying in office. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. It's 10:17 a.m. Stalking with noise, stalking with light is psychopathic. You saw a demon last night on video. You're looking at demons while they're stalking under a fake sun. This is witchcraft. This is the entity that's engaged in what is the maintenance of illusions around you, the illusion of the natural environment, the illusion of strangers, the illusion that you are not being targeted when you are, with regard to what are your instincts, and the entity seeks to falsely depict your character. Were you to ever report it to someone? Were you to even accuse one? And doing so without the P.O.C. is the pattern of conduct. The purpose, the objective is to kidnap, criminally defame, murder, and then also blame the target individual. For example, stating that the target individual was mentally ill, stating that strangers were stalking them, and then they ultimately committed suicide. That's the entity that commits murder. Okay, this is the P.O.C. Elite is prosecuting the city of Upland. That's engaging in landscaping outside of the window where I'm located while the fake sun is over me at 10, where it's remaining over me after 5, where the entity is stalking by helicopter, which is nothing other than another method of audible noise while they're monitoring. That's a demon, in other words, operating a leaf blower. Okay, Satan uses any and everything and everyone. Alrighty, this is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:18 a.m. This is P.O.C. This is the entity stalking by helicopter. And this is the entity doing so under the fake sun that's over the same building as I showed you this morning on video. And this is relevant to the mental illness of all of the employees who are psychopaths engaging in the mentally ill behavior of gang stalking. Coming and sitting in the library next to me while I'm in use of my device. This is exactly what the gang stalker that is malnutrition was engaging in last night. So this is the same app that I'm using on my phone, just to show you. This is federal stalking, and all of the employees are going to prison for this. They're also going to prison because the people of the state are provided a forum to come in and engage in federal stalking, while the entity is engaging in terrorism of this sort, stalking by helicopter. These are demons, not only criminals. They're demons that are engaging in this P.O.C. under the fake sun. This is all crossing path. Stalking. They're all under the fake sun, like it's not happening. Engineer lights all over the reference area. He's going to prison. So is Alyssa. This is the P.O.C. This is all engineer light that's on the floor, and the entity's amplifying more helicopter activity. All right, these are the demons that are engaging in that, and this is the placement of the fake sun that was in this manner while I'm outside of the building this morning during the 9 a.m. hour. If you'll look at that video, the entity that's engaging in the P.O.C. is going to federal prison for it. These are psychopaths that engage in that. And this is the entity that's engaging in surveillance and furtherance of murder. All right, so they are going to federal prison. This is Adam Tuckerman and everyone else that is employed at the venue under his corrupt leadership. This is an unlawful threat to my life and safety and well-being, and doing so as an agent for the entity that is stalking by using sirens. Okay, this is the POC. I want to be clear, Marcelo Blanco as well as COLLIN SHEEHY are being federally prosecuted for terrorism. While the entity is engaging in what is, I want to be clear, what Anthony Rodriguez is going to prison for. The entity that is engaging in what is failing and what is stopping me from being able to upload the video evidence of the entity kidnapping at Stater Brothers on Monday, July 13th. The audio that you've already heard, you will also see the visual component, and he's going to federal prison not only for what he committed. That department's not being only disbanded, so is the Upland Police Department. This is one entity that's equally engaged in that criminal conduct, and the entity stole my phones outside of policy with regard to what is also a kidnapping. The entity is very much engaging in what is repeating the act of terrorism because it does affect your communication devices while they are keeping me under surveillance. The content that I captured while the entity committed kidnapping is what they're after, what they're focused on, and they are acting with impunity, the level of lawlessness, that ongoing desperation. It's also relevant to the entity monitoring my vagina, okay? This is the POC. The fact that I'm subject to this inside of the Upland Public Library is relevant to what is a prosecution of Bill Velto. Okay, he will not be staying in office. It is currently 5:32 p.m. That's criminal summoning, stalking by helicopter, and monitoring all my devices. P.O.C. All right, X and all of the social media is used as the means of widely exposing, widely publicizing the prosecution of a government that has plotted the murder of an American citizen. In the prosecution of a government for an unfathomable, unprecedented criminal act, for also the unprecedented system of surveillance, meaning this is the removal of what has been a long-standing illusion that in the United States there is any privacy whatsoever, a constitutional right, arguably a human right, at least in the United States. This does not exist, and the P.O.C. proves this while the entity has been gang stalking. Gang stalking is a targeting system amongst what is existing, long-term existing surveillance, which is criminal, and it is executed by the government, and the government is not doing it by itself. The government is not the bad guy. The government is acting with the population that are in on surveillance of those that are, of everyone, which they have waived constitutional rights in doing so. And they violate the constitutional human rights of American citizens like myself who are unaware that they are under surveillance. And this is thus a population of sex offenders, of psychopathic stalkers, obsessive, while they're engaging in what is a supernatural. It is demonic, it is witchcraft. And the elements of monitoring have shown you that. I've shown you the fake sun. I've shown you the fake moon. I've shown you the impossible light activity. I've shown you the presence of light that is not dynamic, it's stationary, and yet it is impossible that it would be in the manner that you see, such as on the ceiling on the inside of a building, such as flat on the wall on the inside of a room, such as being underneath a covered structure where you're talking about shade would be present. The fact that you see that light, the fact that you see the light in however it is appearing is supernatural. And the entities engaging in what is stalking you in that environment, it's unlawful presence. In the same way that the government needs a warrant to follow you around to conduct what they refer to as an investigation. You're not asking a judge to follow someone around because you want to just invade their privacy. You're talking about probable cause with regard to the commission of a crime, something that you are having a ostensibly a legitimate interest in following this person around, investigating a case in order to solve a crime, in order to get what is a lawful objective at the end, which is handled in a court in the United States of America. The entities engaging in what is surveillance and maintaining the whole criminal court justice system, which is the maintenance of an illusion. Okay, so the entity maintains the illusion while the reality is that surveillance, which is satanic, it is supernatural. In addition to that, which is also committed and maintained and executed through devices, meaning all of the entity relies on technology, and that is with a specific purpose to enable what is natural, ceaseless, ongoing surveillance at all time by mere use of the communication devices, your computer, your cell phone, your TV, your car. Most of the cars that we buy nowadays are essentially communication devices. And the entities engaging in this while I am showing you how the entity that is maintaining criminal surveillance in concert with the population, they are engaging in what is the surveillance system with regard to targeting those that are targeted for purposes of taking their life, taking whatever it is that entity engaging in that criminal surveillance system desires to procure. That may be the identity, that may be the very life. You're talking about what are satanic sacrifices. And under the law, you're talking about what is nothing other than criminal conspiracy to commit murder, while the government is engaging in what is number one, surveillance in the first place. So the entity is already illegitimate. The government has no basis whatsoever. It does not exist to have a warrant. In other words, is insufficient for gang stalking, for criminal monitoring. And that's what the evidence of the P.O.C. shows. This is above and beyond an unlawful violation, search of communication devices, which is unconstitutional. This is speaking to 24-hour surveillance at all places and at all times by everyone around you, everyone also that is not around you. The United States is engaged in treason, and we are under surveillance by those that are outside of the United States. And the entity is engaging in what is sexual violence, violating you in unfathomable ways with those that are outside of the United States. And then you're going to think about the fact that this is the reality pertaining to your children who do not have any privacy. Okay, so their prepubescent bodies, what they are doing in the bathroom, what it is when you're bathing your children, that is all a matter of what is not private whatsoever. Okay, so this is the entity that maintains an illusion with regard to a police department that learns that a family, a household is engaged in what is having sex with their children, and they didn't know until the kid went to school and reported. That's all an illusion. That's all an illusion. Okay, this is massive surveillance in everything that is going on in every household, whether you're homeless, as I've shown you the P.O.C, or whether you are housed, as I've shown you the P.O.C, whether you are at work, as I've shown you the P.O.C, whether you are traveling, as I've shown you the P.O.C, whether you are in California, as I've shown you the P.O.C, or whether you travel outside of the state, whether you are outside of the state, which I have shown you the P.O.C in this regard as well. You are under surveillance. No police department, no fire department, they're not learning of any information. You don't have any rights. The entities engage you in surveillance in ways in which are not discussed, including satellites, including those that are outside of the United States, where information that is very sensitive is shared. And then you're talking about the illusion regarding corporate entities that are engaging in surveillance, maintaining what is paying you $36.52 in a class action suit where they admit to only a part of what is a violation, maintaining the illusion. Oh, there was a security breach and the last portion of your account number on your Target credit card may have been compromised, and you are a part of a class action suit and you're entitled to your $36.52. You're entitled to much more than that, and much more than that is made public. It's not a matter of a breach of that information. All of your information is private, and all of it is exposed. So you do not have any privacy whatsoever. The United States is engaging in the barbarism of maintaining an illusion that we are different from the rest of the countries that maintain these Neanderthalic regimes. And the United States is not different whatsoever, at all. Bush, Clinton, Obama, Trump, the same ongoing violation of human rights. While you are monitoring the genitalia of an American citizen, you do not have any principled stance with regard to human rights or be able to stand on any stage, on the international stage, and inform anybody, advise anyone, opine about any issue regarding the ways in which other countries, other regimes are violating human beings, because the United States government is engaging in it. And the United States government, as I've shown you, the U.S. military that is stalking me by helicopter when I'm in the city library in California. This is the entity that's engaging in what is murdering people. And I am the only one that is speaking to it. Remember, everyone else is already dead. Everyone else is already locked up in a facility and can't even remember what happened to them, nor can they explain how they ended up in that circumstance. Or they're a vegetable, even worse, and they can't even communicate, which is exactly what a government that's stalking you in helicopters is intending to accomplish. Okay, these, moreover, are not humans, these are demons. And this is not a Hollywood flick where demons are creating movies and letting you know about the truth about what they do. This is the reality. It's not a Hollywood movie. These are the demon possessed. This is demon possession in operation. This is witchcraft. This is the operation of Satan over a population. That population merely works for the government, merely works for these companies, merely lives in the neighborhood, merely works at the venues where I'm at. We're ongoing criminal monitoring. Monitoring is demonic. And it's also criminal. It is demonic, though. That which is demonic, it tends to be criminal. And that's how you are able to witness me prosecute Satan. Okay, the entity is engaging in this, and this is what you're mindful of. So while I am in the library, the entity is maintaining this pattern of conduct and is doing so pursuant to the identical course of conduct that was documented last night. Okay, you're looking at obsession. Alyssa is an employee at the venue, and she is seated inside of the reference desk area and maintains the most nonchalant facial expression, as though she is oblivious to everything that is going on, but for speaking to her, she has no idea what is going on. Okay, that's a third party. That is a demon. Okay, everything about her pregnant silence is underscored by the impossible light that is lighting up the walls all around her, where you don't have to say anything. She certainly does, because she doesn't have to, because the helicopter activity is the requisite activity where she is monitoring me, and she's also exceedingly hostile. And this is not just throwing around what I want. This is literally the pattern of conduct. The demons that are maintaining any method of audible activity as they are, as Alyssa is, stalking all day long with amplified audible activity. A demon whose door closure maintains a level of what is a volume that is abnormal. And it's also in sync with my physical movement and the operation of my device. Alyssa sits there stoic, and it is the evidence to have Alyssa diagnosed for commitment, which is the treatment of every gang stalker engaging in this pattern of conduct, while a population is no longer secretly engaging in, secretly executing a criminal surveillance system, where the entity has exposed its inability to control itself, while it is admitting that everyone inside of that library is gang stalking, no matter how stoic you want to appear. And I want to be clear, stoicism is evidence of mental instability. It is not evidence and it is not relevant pertaining to the issue. Are you engaging in criminal monitoring and furtherance of murder of an American citizen in concert and on behalf of the U.S. military? And the answer is yes to all of the above. And stoicism is not going to help you. Stoicism is actually what medical professionals are going to analyze with regard to how much of a threat your behavioral health issues present to the public. And gang stalkers shall be committed. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while I am at the Upland Public Library. And last night at the Ovid Family Community Library, while I was engaging in the exact same use of my app. The entities engaged in, and Anthony Rodriguez committed what is theft. How did he commit theft? He committed theft through engaging in what is a kidnapping. What Anthony and the Ontario Police, what this entity, what Stater Brothers, what Edgar, what everybody that's at Stater Brothers is interested in is retrieving that video evidence that I captured. That is, I believe, over 20 minutes under that fake sun that's present at 7, which would make it impossible for the sun to be over me this morning during the 9 a.m. hour at the Upland Public Library. And it's also impossible that it's still over me while the military is stalking, by definition, under a fake sun that's still there after 5 p.m. 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 hours later. You are stalking in that environment. You're stalking while you're monitoring. Nonetheless, the Ontario Police, Hadel Shiapani, June 16, 2022 kidnapping, is engaging in kidnapping with the Anthony Rodriguez, whose actual focus is seizure of my phone. The terms relevant are contingent upon the nature of the event. So when you're engaged in tortious conduct, you're talking about what is an unlawful seizure. You're talking about what is nonetheless improper, what is unlawful. You have a right to not be subject to it. Absolutely, yada, yada, yada. When you're engaged in criminal surveillance, this is theft. You're engaged in what is kidnapping, not in illegal arrest, not in, an illegal arrest is a synonym for kidnapping, but it is an outright abduction of your person. It is an unlawful threat to your life, while there is absolutely zero authority for the one that is wearing a police uniform to get away with kidnapping you, while they maintain this illusion of a criminal justice system, of the execution of the duties of officers who are targeting with the U.S. military that is stalking me at the Ovid Family Community Library as I use my device, and stalking at the Upland Public Library as I use my device, pursuant to video evidence that Rodriguez intended to steal at the outset when he stated that he had 3 warrants. 3 warrants, which is speaking to the disbanding of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, Shannon Dykes, who was a gang stalking Sheriff's Department, engaging in the pattern of conduct, surveillance, not legitimate jailing, in violation of federal law, not just federal stalking, but the Prison Rape Elimination Act while you're gang stalking. You're in violation of Title 15 while you're gang stalking. It's a violation of your human rights while they are stalking with noise inside of a jail, dressing around like they're deputies, while they're engaging in the sexual violence, that which I will expound upon, and the ongoing evidence to be added to the kidnapping that I was subject to from July 13 to July 15, 2026, where the purpose was to steal the video evidence that I am maneuvering around. The entity engaged in what is tampering with my device when Anthony stole it. Okay? And Anthony very much stole it. That's why the entity is going so berserk, stalking me by helicopter last night as I go about fixing my video evidence so that it will upload onto the internet. As I do that last night, you see the little one, she needs to go eat, but she's not eating. She's stalking me wearing the same ashy pink outfit that she was wearing when she was stalking me at the Upland Public Library. And she needs to eat. Okay, she's doing that at 11, 12 o'clock in the morning. You remember that? And she's engaging in that on behalf as an agent, as a third party, just like Alyssa. Stoicism or not. Obsession is what you're witnessing. The demon possessed who are not human are obsessed with monitoring you. They are stalking, indeed. They're stalking while they move into the house next door to you to keep tabs on you. They're stalking while they're maintaining flights at an entire airport, stalking you. They're stalking while they maintain a police department in that city, stalking you. And they also engage in what I've shown is targeting specific people in furtherance of murdering for whatever reason. The Ontario police, the Upland police have engaged in targeting and furtherance of murder because these demons, these swap meet, gang stalking, hot dog eating, feces consuming gargoyles who sling light, who are literally not only incompetent but incapable of putting together a sentence that makes any sense with regard to exhibiting any decent amount or relevant amount of intelligence to even be in the positions that they're in. Not to say that you have to be extraordinarily intelligent to be a sociopath with a badge, because that's what they are in California. You get past the academy and you make it on to be a police department, to be on a police department. And I've shown you all they are stalkers. They're official paid stalkers, and that's going to end. In fact, it is already over. You're watching them show how psychotic they've been at the outset while their time has come to an end. And it is dwindling down while the entity is literally flying in circles over me at the Upland Public Library. What defense does Alyssa have in federal court? And her co-defendants of the Ovid Family Community Library, what is their defense? These are unintelligent minions. These aren't even humans. They cannot contend with actual intellect to prosecute them. They rely on gang violence, engineering information and making it up, and all the gang members together vouch, and that's how they deal with what is creating reality. They cannot deal with actual facts. Her co-defendants at the Ovid Family Community Library are going to prison just like her with zero defense. Absolutely no defense whatsoever. Literally the video evidence of the military stalking me, harassing me, targeting me, being present, if you don't want to refer to it as, because you can refer to it however you want. Satan is delusional. Satan is delusional. The helicopter activity, you're going to prison. Period. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while I am capturing video evidence that Rodriguez, the Ontario Police, this entity, literally, Alyssa, stoic and all, sought to remove from the ability to publish for you witnesses to see. And you're going to see it. Okay, you're going to see it. The evidence is perfectly fine. I have it with regard to using an app in order to cease to repair what the entity sought to damage. And if that doesn't work, then it will be published. But I want to do one before I have to do the other. But it is under all circumstances going to be published. And it remains intact. There is no spoliation of my evidence. I'm remaining it intact. And I'm also clear, and I document, just for purposes of, maintaining an investigation, which I have to run myself, which is speaking to a level of integrity that is required, and also competence. But you're talking about maintaining what are the details should it become necessary to rename a video something else than what is the default timestamp. And if that's the case, I make sure I maintain evidence to show what was changed, which isn't changing the substance of the evidence, but perhaps the name, because I don't even like to change the name. The time is part of the evidence. The time is relevant to the specific environment. There's a reason why I don't touch it. I capture the evidence and I keep it the way it is. And this is a system that has been very precise with regard to showing you all the facets of the pattern of conduct and demonic activity. But nonetheless, the entities engaging in this and them stalking me by helicopter inside of the venue and everyone sitting around maintaining that stoic demeanor is you're witnessing the mentally ill that commit acts, egregious sex acts of violence. And they don't speak of it. They are engaging in criminal activity as a way of society, which they do not speak of. And I am the one that is humiliating everyone. And while they do so in their silence, their hostility is very much pronounced. That is the helicopter activity. That's the sirens. That's the listen to the video. Try to, not listen so much to what it is that I'm saying and pay attention to the background. Because the sirens and the helicopter activity, that chaotic environment, that's the sound of demons that are very angry. They're raging out. It's also audible activity under a fake sun that is over the same library over 7 hours later. And this is while the entity is monitoring on my device. In other words, as I am in use of my device and I am seeking to repair this file that the Ontario Police, the entity, upon theft, you kidnapped me to steal. You literally engaged in kidnapping. Understand, when the entity engages in these acts, people don't live. You're going to prison. It's not a matter of you dismissing the case, which was an act of fictitious authority. You're going to prison. It's the principle of the matter. It is the illegality of that act. And you are going to prison for what was never going to work against me in the first place. That's why I'm here, to show you this is what they do. This is what I'm going to prove to you about what they do. All right. And then I'm going to tell you again what I told you I was going to tell you. Okay, so the fact that I am released, the fact that I am testifying to it is not evidence that it's not so bad. It's not evidence that they're innocent. It's not evidence that it's not happening. It is evidence that I am the one to report it to you. That's what it's evidence of. And you are going to prison. And you're going to prison for seeking to obstruct justice. There are no malfunctions with my phones or my evidence, and my phone should have never been in the custody of the stalkers themselves. You're going to prison because you're going around acting like you're a cop. And you're a stalker, you're a vagina monitor. You got a whole bunch of sex offenders, a whole bunch of demon-possessed lesbians following me into the bathroom with their phones out. Little minions with no brain power. You're going to prison for that. All right, the entities engaging in this, and with that same level of numbness, the people of the state commit murder. Okay? And this is the purpose of a demon-possessed population that is under the control of Satan, to create a society of psychopaths who don't feel anything about hurting each other. They don't feel anything about committing violent acts against each other. They don't feel anything about harming children, their own children, other people's children. They don't feel anything about engaging in what is things like gang stalking. And that's the purpose of having a society of psychopaths. This is what is emulating AI, the robots. This is why the government wants to replace people, have them reliant upon that government that will deny you food, the ability to even retrieve it, but for bowing down to some satanic rule, while they utilize robots that exercise no independent thought and have no feelings about doing whatever it is that is needed to be done, including taking the lives of other people. Okay, this is the entity that's doing so outside of what are the confines of the Constitution, which is becoming more and more irrelevant to a demon-possessed population and a demon-infected government body, a regime. Okay, so I just want to make sure that that is clear. These are demons. These are creatures. These are essentially animals. This is the demon-possessed, and so you're talking about the people that are of this condition. And if you did not know, Satan is a spirit, and Satan very much is engaged in what is appearing before you and looking like a human. And that is no human. That is a demon-possessed person, and Satan is possessing that person. That's what gang stalking is. This is how you have the impossible light activity that flies in the air. This is how you have the impossible light activity that's somehow able to touch me in the shade, in the dark. Satan is a stalker. Satan, that stalking kind of behavior is of a spirit. That spirit is possessing a whole population. It's possessing the government that has lost in the endeavor to keep that concealed, to keep it a secret. In fact, it's an act of treason by the United States, in fact. That's how exposed Satan is. And Satan is going by the name of the United States military, a bunch of cult members. There's a long laundry list of people that are going to federal prison and departments that are being disbanded. And the entity committed kidnapping on July 13th through the 15th. And that's what's relevant also behind what is that psychotic act that I captured on video, the entity going berserk by helicopter. Because I'm retrieving video, I am repairing it in order to upload it. And under all circumstances, it's going on the internet. My evidence always does. And not only that, you are going to prison. But these are demons. Understand, Satan, he does not have any foresight. He's not thinking and planning. Satan is a treacherous thug. He's just going moment by moment, just getting to the next moment, and then getting to the next moment, and then getting to the next moment. That's the treachery of Satan. That's the behavior of demons. I'm stalking you in a helicopter right now because I don't like what you just said. And I don't care that my wife and my kids are going to be homeless because they're not getting any retirement money. And I'm going to prison and I'm not going to get out. And I'm probably going to die there because I did a couple of death spells. And I know that that's going to boomerang on me. But I don't care about how that affects at least everyone else. I'm trying to get some satisfaction right now in the moment because I am psychopathic and obsessive and deluded from reality that I cannot cope with. This is a population of that personality defect. This is a population of those that are obsessed with me because of their dysfunction. And this is not hyperbole. That's not even a compliment. I'm not giving myself a compliment, and I don't find that to be a compliment. I find it to be disturbing, and I find it to be something that you need to know. They're demons. They are literally inferior creatures that want to look like you. That's why they sit up in what they call churches. Satan's church. Satan's church, his job is to look just like Christ's church. The wheat and the tares. That's what this is. He's supposed to look just like the normal, just like Christ, just like his own. This is an entity that's engaging in it, and that's what they're doing, trying to look like they're humans, behaving like, and as I've shown you under a microscope, they're nothing like humans. They're nothing like it at all. That conduct, that behavior with the helicopter is just like the hallmark, okay? The stalking with the planetary, that's the hallmark. These are not humans. They don't have the mind, they don't have the concerns of humans. These are creatures who literally know that they can literally die at any moment because they don't actually have a purpose. It's monitoring other people, and when you are that easily to be dispensed away with, you're talking about what is at any moment. Your time is, you're expired. And that is a level of worthlessness. This is the suicidal population that wants to project their disorders onto other people. Suicide is very rare, and this entity murders people and then claims that they committed suicide. This entity also spiritually attacks people, and where you're thinking that you want to harm yourself and you want to kill yourself, no, you do not. The devil is a liar. Those are demons that are telling you to do that. And you ought not listen to the devil. It's not you that feels that way. This is what Satan does. And this is relevant to what you need to know about, which is true, a fact, which is monitoring. And it is absolutely true that the spiritual realm can be dealt with and discussed with in a factual manner. Okay, monitoring is factual. This is how you have voices telling you to harm yourself. That's not you. Those are not your thoughts. And that's relevant to monitoring. Okay, but the entities engaged in this pattern of conduct, and what I want to get to is the entity that is engaging in this. This is relevant to Anthony, who was very much going to federal prison. Anthony Rodriguez, he committed kidnapping, and the evidence that precedes the kidnapping that he and Hadel Shiapani commit on July 13th is what is prefacing the entity that is stalking me on July 17, 2026 by helicopter, because I am very much engaged in repairing the video that they thought that they had damage to the point that I wouldn't be able to upload it. And while I'm very much going to upload it, you're looking at the entity going berserk. That's what happened last night. That's what happened this morning. Anthony's going to prison. Okay, Hadel, she already knows she's going to prison, and she's going to prison even longer. Okay, that sort of disdain for life, because that's what you're deducing from that. You're behaving in a manner, I already know, they already documented, because this is their tactic. You have a demon that is gang stalking with the police department, and one that has been sentenced already, because that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm handing out sentences, and they're going to experience it. But you've already been told, in other words, you've been documented, and you know you're going to prison. You know you're going to federal prison, and so that conduct is, okay, well, the entity is like, well, we've already documented. We've got one that's familiar with Erica. That's also relevant to psychological torture and threatening conduct as well. But nonetheless, the entity is engaged in what is sending in a demon dressed up as a police officer to commit a criminal act in concert with the people of the state, who do not have any legitimate law enforcement. They're not engaged in policing. They're engaged in stalking, and they enforce a stalking society. They enforce that. They enforce it. So they're engaging in what is summoning, and that's psychotic. It's totally an illusion. Hadel and Rodriguez are stalking. So all they do is drive up as though they're responding to a call. That's the demons that are stalking under the fake sun that's at the same intersection at 7 as it is at 9 in the morning. There's no emergency, and you're a psycho acting like you're doing something like that. You are entirely psychotic. This is the entity that you're going to prison for what the government has done, the system of maintaining surveillance. The government actors, state actors, they're going to prison. Especially, and why is that? Because they dress up in uniforms as police officers to get away with murder, to get away with kidnapping, to get away with lying, to get away with crimes like theft. The entity that's stealing my phone, and that's what you're doing when you're taking my devices pursuant to kidnapping. Number one, when you're taking my devices and not listing it as inventory on the paperwork, which I'm going to use as your admissions that you committed kidnapping. Number two, that's what you're doing when you are interfering with an ongoing case against yourself. You don't even have jurisdiction, authority, words that you don't know the definition of, nor can you spell. And this is an entity that is under all circumstances on the wrong side of the law, and they're merely mad about it. So you and your sick mind think that it's a good idea because you are a creature and not a human. You're not a reasonable human being. You're a demon. And you commence to engage in stalking in a helicopter. And I have thousands, and I mean thousands, of the entity engaging in what is stalking and harassing in that very manner. All right. And that's based on what it is that I am. I am the trigger for the demon possessed who have been exposed. For targeting me, I am prosecuting you. And through that process, the demon possessed are manifesting before your eyes, witnesses who need to know very well that Satan is real. He is your enemy. He is a spirit. He uses those who look like you, but they're nothing like you. They're demons. And I'm talking to the children of God, those who are already in the kingdom. You belong to him already. You're already serving him. You already know him. And those who shall. Okay, because he knows who you are. God is on the throne. He's outside of time. So he knows that you're going to come to faith. And I just want to be clear. You are a lower being when you are demon possessed. You're a lower being. And this is why you do lower things. You do lower things. You are given over to death. You do pathetic things like crouch in a bathroom stall. And then you have the audacity when you're caught doing that. That's like putting a flashlight in your face, like, aha, gotcha. And then you have the audacity to be mad because you got caught doing something as weird and creepy and pathetic and perverted as stalking in a bathroom stall. And not only that, then you think that, oh, well, if I cuss you out and if I'm rude to you and if I yell loud and if I get violent and if I accuse you of doing it, then that will make me look like I'm not doing it. These are the tactics of lower beings. They're unintelligent. They're stalkers. That's it. And that is a spirit. They don't think, they don't reason. It's their job to stalk, period. They're little creatures just monitoring. Okay? Like anteaters. That's all they're doing. All right. And you're talking about what is a serious dysfunction with regard to a demonic spirit that has the audacity to have some level. I don't know what the pride is about. What are you proud about? You're not proud about anything. In fact, you're triggered by me because I tell you the truth about yourself. You're triggered because I tell you the truth unapologetically, which anyone should. If you're having sex with children, you're a pedophile. There's no reason to put that in some palatable manner to make you comfortable. You're gang stalking with those that penetrate children. You're a pedophile. You approve of pedophilia. And there's no reason to put that in any manner to make you feel comfortable or okay about it. And your hands are just as filthy. You're gang stalking with a whole bunch of sex offenders for money. You're a sex offender. You're facilitating sexual violence. You're enabling sexual violence. You're helping kids get raped. You want to call it something else because you're delusional. That's why. You're delusional. That is of a spirit. This is not name calling. These are lower beings. Literally. In other words, you need Christ Jesus for a sane mind. To not be humiliated by the devil, who makes a mockery of your very existence, who makes a fool out of you. If you think that white magic, that's going to do it. You just don't want to bow down to Christ. You don't want to give him what he is due, despite his love for you, his sacrifice for you. All right. Despite his power, despite his holiness, despite his name, despite who he is. You don't want to bow down to Christ, so you'd rather just rely on your white magic. You'd rather rely on your good voodoo spells with your good intentions. You'd rather rely on your sage. I'm telling you right now, you're in Satan's playground. You're on his territory. And you are very unsafe. You're very unsafe. You have no idea, especially with the ways in which on this earth, it's going to become more and more severe. And while you're playing around in the spiritual realm where the Lord God has said not to be, if you are not his prophet, if he has not given you what is a message, you don't know him, you're not serving him, he has not given you an office of being a prophet, you're in somebody else's business and you have made yourself vulnerable. You're in the spiritual realm and you do not know how that might become more of an incinerated environment, if you will. You don't know how dangerous that might become. You're accustomed to it. You're in the spirit all the time. You have your little rituals that you do. You do not know what you are exposing yourself to, and you do not know how it's going to become a more dangerous and more threatening with regard to the ways in which you can be harmed. And that's just relevant to being disobedient in the first place. Okay? You keep playing with fire and you were told to stop playing with fire, and you keep playing with fire and you're good at playing with fire. Okay? You're skillful at it. You even make money at it, out of it. Okay? But there comes a time to where the way in which you have to engage in playing with fire, that may change in ways in which you cannot anticipate and you cannot adjust to. And the flames aren't the same. It doesn't burn the same. It doesn't stay the same temperature. It gets hotter. A temperature that you can't contain, that you cannot maintain. You can't remain in control and control that fire. It's something that will be outside of your control. And this is something that you are doing outside of what you were told to be doing in the first place. So in other words, when you're disobedient, you step outside of protection that you very well may need. And when you are blown up into flames, who is there to blame other than yourself? Because you just insisted. You know what you're doing. You want to do it your way. You know what you're doing. You're good at it. And why do you have to do it the other way? You don't want to do it the other way. I don't want to conform to those rules. I don't want to do it that way. That's boring. I want to do it my way. All I'm saying is that Christ is coming, and with that, desperation of the enemy is also coming. And the more that you continue in ways in which endanger you, in ways in which perhaps you've never experienced any sort of problems with it before. Okay, so maybe you never had any problems with it before. That is not a guarantee that it's going to remain that way. And all I'm stating is that you are exposing yourself and endangering yourself, because these are demons. This is Satan's time. He has a limited amount of time, and this spirit is desperate. I've shown you that. Satan is desperate. He is like a roaring lion, roaming about, seeking whom he may devour. Like a lion, number one, roaming about. He's going around looking. He's not all knowing. He's going around and seeing. He has to survey. He's not like God, who knows everything, who doesn't learn anything chronologically. He knows everything all the time from beginning to end. And you're talking about, and he is the source of all that information. You're not talking about information given to him that he doesn't know. He is all knowing, omnipotent, omniscient. Satan is not that. Seeking whom he may devour, meaning he's out looking because he doesn't know. He tests, he stalks, he monitors, he watches, he lies, he baits, he intimidates, he violates, he harms you. See how you react. What are you going to do? What do you believe? What are you going to do now? Where are you going to go now? This is how Satan operates, because he doesn't know, but he finds out. And he does it. He likes to look like he's a lion. He's not a lion. He's not a lion. And I'm speaking to those, if you do not know Christ, please do not be fooled. You cannot contend with the devil. He is more powerful than you. It is in Christ Jesus alone, the only one, by the way, who ever rose from the dead. Okay? He rose Lazarus up from the dead. Okay? But he took up the cross and he gave his body. He died and then came back to life. Not a fable, real life. Meaning that's significant. Meaning he gave himself as a sacrifice. And because he's so holy and sinless, he was able to come back to life. That is, meaning he conquered death. Meaning sin evil. Demons, they don't have control over him. They can't hold him. And those who walk with Christ by faith, it is the same. You've inherited that power. You are automatically outranking demons when you are saved and filled with the Holy Spirit. When you know Christ as your Lord and Savior, you automatically outrank. Even though this is not a competition, but to put it in terms of non-believers who are out here, oh, you're more powerful than that. You're speaking like Satan. Satan that's out here monitoring people and surveying their spiritual gifts. All up in other people's business, in other words. Right? You like going in people's drawers, their undergarments, and looking at their underwear and sniffing them? You're all up in people's business. Get out of there. That's Satan. That's a spirit. That's not content with himself. That's what's wrong with Satan. That's what happened to him. Wants to be God. You're never going to be God. Never. This is speaking to what Christ accomplished on the cross. Christ is God. The only one. That's why he sent his son. Meaning the Lord God himself died. And that's the only way you can overcome the devil. That's the only way. Being a good person, even abstaining and doing all the right things you're talking about, your religiosity, your legalities, your self-righteousness, it's filthy rags before him. Filthy rags. Okay, you have a population. If I can't tell you anything else, you're looking at a population. Literally, you're talking about thousands, and then you're getting into millions. You know how many people have been monitoring me? How much I've been subject to? How many demons? You're talking about millions and millions of people that are subdued by this spirit. That in and of itself is speaking to the power of the devil. And it's at the same time speaking to the power of Christ, who Satan cannot contend with. And he knows that. And he doesn't want you to know that. He does not want you to know that, because what does that mean? When you are in Christ, Satan is, you have already defeated, in other words, you defeat demons, you defeat Satan by faith, through your faith in Christ. That's how you defeat the devil. That's how you avoid being out here being a vagina monitor, having me making fun of you based on facts. I don't have to make up anything. Your pathetic existence is joke enough. And it's so sad because it's not even funny, it's the truth. But we can laugh about it because Satan needs to be humiliated. Who was out here talking about serving Satan and being a gang stalker was sexy? Who lied to you? Who lied to you? A bunch of losers. A bunch of losers who laugh to keep from crying, who monitor my vagina as the highlight in their day, who get in police vehicles with nothing to do. It's pathetic. You don't have an identity. You don't have a purpose. You don't even have a real job. And you're angry, you're enraged because it's the truth and you know it. And you're angry because I know it. And you're angry because you know that I know that you know. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. This is an entity that's engaged in what is embarrassing and stuff, and you don't have any. What else are you going to do? This is why they're so pathetic. This is why they're still stalking. What is your point? Where are you going with this? What is the end game, Satan? Because where are you going with it? Where are you going with it? Where are you going? Do you think that you're not getting $1? You're not going where I'm flying off to? You're not going. You're not going. Matter of fact, you're not even going to be leaving the state. You're going to be on lockdown. And many are going straight. Unfortunately, but this is the reality. Many of you are going straight to the dirt. You're going straight to the dirt. You've been playing with one too many voodoo dolls. And your time is up. And it's for the benefit of others. It's for the benefit of others. You refuse to learn the lesson. You refuse to repent. Well, other people are going to repent because they're going to learn the lesson while they see the consequences of what you decided to do. You made yourself a joke. You make yourself a joke by stalking me. You're a joke. What? You are a joke. This is not how gang stalking is supposed to go. This is not it. This is not what happens. This is not how this is supposed to go. I know who you are. I know what you're doing. And you're sitting there looking stoic. You look stupid. Nobody believes you either. It's literally both about the optics, meaning perception, and reality. It's about both. And you're losing on both fronts. But nonetheless, the entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct, and you're talking about demons that worship. And you know why they worship? It's Christ in me, okay? They don't want to submit to Christ. They don't want to serve him, but they very much submit to him. All right, now this is, in other words, a public service announcement for you who are witnessing this. It is very important that in the United States, okay, I'm still going to speak and conduct and treat the United States theoretically as something that has a principle, okay, even though the government has shown that it does not. But the United States government and the constitutional framework is one that requires what it is that the P.O.C. provides, a public investigation. Because, and why is that? Because the reason that is because the court of public opinion is relevant here. Contrary to when you are prosecuting the so-called little guy, okay, someone like myself, or not even me, because I'm not. But anyway, just to use myself as an example, anyone, I don't care if they're a serial killer like Charles Manson, the little guy that is entitled to their constitutional right in court. We have principles, we have ideals in this country, okay? Whether or not they even really, that's neither here nor there. But we do have principles, and they are written, and they remain relevant. And there is a standard in the United States. Because the criminal, the defendant, the actor, the violator is literally the government, this is a circumstance. Contrary to when the little guy is being prosecuted for an alleged crime for which he or she must be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This is the same legal standard. However, it's the government. This is Big Brother, where everybody should be involved. Everybody should witness what the government is doing, because the government should be impeccable. They should be above suspicion. And by above suspicion, I don't mean you're not above the law, but I mean, if I throw an allegation out there, there should be nothing that even looks remotely close to say. It should look like, oh, that's preposterous. And not preposterous just because you say so, and all the gang stalkers jump on it. And nobody looks into anything, nobody asks any questions, we just move on. That's not what that is. Meaning there is absolutely nothing that is substantiating what are those allegations. Nothing that looks like that could even be possible. That's how immaculate it should be. Not perfection, but competence, integrity. These things that actually matter. Because the entity is maintaining a pattern of conduct, and literally I'm documenting being targeted by helicopter on a daily basis, if not about every 2 to 3 hours. Who is making anything up? That in and of itself. And what do they think, pray tell, are they doing sitting around looking stoic? They being the demons. Okay, everybody is in an illusion that is not happening to them. Okay, they're all delusional, and they have the audacity to try to defame an American citizen, which I've also shown you. I've prosecuted it comprehensively, because gang stalking is never anything that's even relevant to diagnosing mental illness of one that is being targeted by the government, which is not within the imagination of any person. It has nothing to do. One has nothing to do with the other. Literally, the government is creating a defense by stating, oh, pointing a finger. No, they're crazy. That's literally all the government. That's not a defense. That's not even a relevant argument. That's literally a non-response. You're non-responsive. You have not responded to the allegations. It's legally irrelevant. It's a non sequitur. So the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and while they're doing so, it is very much important, because of who the actor is, because it is the United States government, because it is the states, because the Constitution, that is not supposed to be treated like toilet paper that wipes up fecal matter. It's not supposed to. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to mean something. Under this circumstance, because the defendant is the United States government, the court of public opinion is absolutely relevant. Everybody should be, absolutely, everybody watch. Everybody watch. Because to make such allegations against the United States government, that should be something that you're shamed for. It should be something that you're shamed for, especially if it's not true. Okay, and the fact that it's not true is not because you're mentally ill and you're just imagining. If you're imagining, honey, we would not be 10,000 videos into a public investigation. We're beyond that. That boat has sailed. That was never going to work on what is week 1 of the video evidence. You're talking about back in 2019 having a field day stalking me by helicopter. You're talking about what is clear, just glossing over and disregarding a government that is bent on, determined, in other words, to commit a murder in the face of evidence showing that you are at the very least what is at risk of, there is probable cause, in other words, that what an American citizen is talking about, there's some weight there because we've got some ongoing targeting, harassment, and it's extraordinary. It's something to look into. Okay, so you're talking about the government doesn't have that. And the court of public opinion does matter here because the government is not the little guy. The government is big brother. That's engaging the government's engaged in abusing their position. In order to do things like murder American citizens, they want to murder the little guy. This is literally terrorism. Absolutely, the court of public opinion is important, it's vital, it's key, it's central. Because the world is learning and witnessing the case against the United States government, and everyone knows that the United States is a terrorist. And that in and of itself, if you have any idea about the implications behind the superpower, quote unquote superpower that's supposed to be the United States of America, that's a travesty. It's very problematic. Very, very problematic. And you're talking about what is demoralizing, not only to the rest of the world, but demoralizing to those in this country, to those that rely on this country, to those that look to the United States as some sort of beacon of light in its utter darkness. Utter darkness. This is the reason why it's also necessary for very obvious purposes. The entities plotting to murder you, you're going to want to put yourself on the internet and make sure everybody, hey, I'm over here, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm over here. I would never harm myself. I'm documenting, this is where I'm at. They're trying to hide me. They're trying to kidnap me. They're trying to frame me. They're trying to steal from me. They're stealing my identity. They did this, they did that, they're doing this. That's also the obvious reason why you would do that. You're also going to do it because the courts, where the government is engaging in the pattern of conduct, the courts are not an avenue for the targeted individual. They're not an avenue, period. They're entirely illegitimate. What's over the United States Supreme Court? I'll wait. In the skyscraper. If the fake sun is remaining over the Upland Public Library as a matter of video evidence, which everyone can look at yourself, and you want to ask NASA? You want to ask them? You want to ask them what is sitting over the Upland Public Library from the 9 a.m. hour until the 5 p.m. hour, where I'm showing you who has access, at the very least, if we don't want to go ahead with what the P.O.C. shows, because a fifth grader can get to who has access to helicopters? If not the police department, if not a fire department. That was a black helicopter flying very specifically over the top of my head at the corner of the building where I am located. In a building where from at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., the sun is still sitting over one building on one street in one city. Let's ask NASA, what is sitting over the United States Supreme Court in the sky space? Is that the natural environment? Is that the sun over there? Is that some sort of exception? Like, this is just to open your eyes. This is demoralizing on more than one level. The environment is speaking to what is corruption, and it's not on a small scale. Corruption with regard to what actually the fabric of this company is, the United States, it came out. This is more like a company, a corrupt company, than it is a nation, a united nation. It's ran like a corrupt company, and this is perhaps why we have the current commander-in-chief that we do. But this is demoralizing with regard to the reality when you are able to open your eyes and when you're looking at Fox News or you're looking at CNN, wherever you get your poison from. Because honestly, you want to argue one or the other, they're doing the same job. It's propaganda. And they're doing so under the fake sun. They're doing so under the fake sun, and nobody notices it. Nobody knows. Nobody's speaking on it. They even are trying to do things like I've shown, trying to cover it up, referring to things such as climate control. Climate control was not an adequate preparation for exposure. Climate control, climate change, none of that addresses what the P.O.C. exposes. The fake sun, a fake sun that's set over one building today, all day long. While the entity is engaging in what I'm capturing on an ongoing routine basis, harassment and targeting by helicopters, while I engage in things on my device that the entity likely is not pleased with, like capturing video evidence where that entity tried to ruin that video evidence. Video evidence, I want to be clear. When the entity commits kidnapping, I will recite it with my eyes closed with nothing written down, because you're going to prison. Because these are the rules when the government is engaging, when Big Brother is trying to plot to murder you, and then they think they're just going to kidnap you and steal your evidence. Oh no, then you're just going to go ahead and give your testimony. You don't have to have what is a documentation establishing it independently. Then you will just testify to what you can remember, to what happened, who you saw. That's what you're going to do. The government is not going to get out of trying to plot your murder. And honestly, you're not even dealing with humans. They're suicidal. So they sacrifice their wives, their husbands, their gay lovers, their pets and everything. Their money, their well-being, their reputation, everything. Just to engage in what is stalking me for 2 seconds in a helicopter, or for 30 minutes if they really want to get their rocks off. All of that. That's how much they worship me. And the penalties, the consequences are severe. You're a fool. You're not walking away from this. You made it that serious. You're not walking away from it. And there is no such thing, and there shall not be no such thing, such as numerosity superseding what is justice. Oh, because it's a whole city, because it's a whole state. You're going to watch the state of California. You're going to watch those that are abroad. You're going to watch those that you would never even associate with the likes of pedophilia, conspiracy to murder, while you've attended some of their concerts. You're going to watch those that are in office. You're going to watch those that are living their lives literally like psychopaths. They're engaged in gang stalking, and they're kindergarten teachers. Okay, they're literally supposed to be trusted with the most vulnerable, that need to be protected the most, and they're predators. This is what you're being acquainted with. This is what you're witnessing. And public opinion, the court of public opinion, is absolutely relevant under these circumstances, because the government is the criminal. And I stated there is no secret here. I told you how this is going to end at the outset. So it is a prosecution that is publicly exposed in real time, because the government itself is the criminal and has removed my ability to seek redresses of grievances in the courts that are engaging in the pattern of conduct. And so I will conduct that ongoing investigation and prosecute pursuant to facts. I'm totally unemotional about it. Okay? Pursuant to facts. Facts that the enemy can't deal with. Facts that the government can't deal with. In fact, you watch them fly around in circles in helicopters. They go berserk every time I start talking about facts. Every time I start publishing the facts. Who's having an emotional breakdown? Who's the one that's unstable? Who's the one that's bipolar? The prosecutor? Or that HIV-infected homosexual in that plane and in that helicopter? The evidence, it speaks for itself. But yes, I am very much maintaining a wholly transparent investigation and a prosecution in order to execute justice that this government has no authority to deprive me of. This entity is engaging in this, and this is establishing precedent for those that are subject to the same. And you don't have to be an attorney. That's why the Lord God combined all of that in me, both brought to the depths of homelessness while being equipped with the ability to practice law and execute justice and spell out what does that look like and legislate around it. He put all of that in me at the same time for a very specific reason. For a very specific reason, and also to speak to what the Lord God has to say. All of that is in one person, and it's in Christ Jesus, who is merely using me. But that is by design. That's not a coincidence. Okay, you don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to do that. I literally took it on, and I did so in order to advocate for those that cannot speak for themselves, because that's exactly what I despise. Okay, that's not a strong or courageous or a hero. And you're not a hero in one area of your life, and then you're just a coward that's gang stalking for funsies on the weekends. No, you are exactly what you are. You're a coward, and your inflamed genitalia is a testament to your reckless lifestyle, your deranged mindset, and your criminal appetite, while you're engaging in a pattern of conduct about which you have been surrounded with evidence to prosecute you, not gossip about you like you do toward me. This is not gossip. I'm not into gossip. Gossip is of a spirit, a demonic one. I'm not into gossip. I'm into facts, though. And where I do find any of your trash legally relevant, you absolutely anticipate, brace yourself, because I'm going to drag you with it. I'm going to prosecute you with it. It's legally relevant. Using any and everything to prosecute you. Since you do like to gossip, I just want to be clear, that's probably a return to sender for you. Since you like to gossip. Your criminal pattern of conduct is inevitably bringing about all of your garbage and your prosecution, where you thought that the target individual was going to be somewhere buried, and that's not what's happening. That's not what's going to happen. It's going to happen to somebody, but it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to be happening to me. The entity that's engaging in this pattern of conduct, it is absolutely key. It is absolutely vital and necessary and appropriate that it is widely publicized. And this is also against what the desire of the government that wants to secretly murder and get away with controlling the narrative. There are so many obvious reasons why the court of public opinion is key in exposing terrorism in the United States of America, which is not a matter of conspiracy theory. And that is going to be put to death permanently. It's the entity that's maintaining the system that has contended and maintained that ongoing whisper regarding what is serving defamation. Anyone ever speaking of gang stalking, even if they can't, they basically can't even define what it is. And if they do, they have some aspects, but they're missing some key points about what the whole purpose of gang stalking is and how it's executed and what it's derived from. It's satanic. It's out of hell. And now if you are one that is spiritually blinded, meaning you're not even to the point to where you acknowledge the reality of Christ, who gives divine insight, who gives you eyes to see that which you cannot physically perceive, who tells you about the secrets of the enemy, you're not even in a position to speak to it, to enlighten anyone else about it. Okay? Because there's a bigger picture to it. In addition to what are some tactics, yes, they engage in this, but it's about knowing the enemy. It's about knowing. And so when you have that bigger picture, that macro level understanding, then you're not marrying yourself to a specific image or a specific iteration. You're understanding the overarching purpose, and that way you're able to adapt, because Satan is engaging, these demons are engaging in what is a pattern of conduct, and it exists in many, many different ways. And that's speaking to the creativity of prosecuting the pattern of conduct. But anyway, the entity is engaging in this P.O.C, and I just wanted to go into that. I wanted to go into that discussion. The entity is engaging in this P.O.C with regard to a public investigation. This is speaking to the reality of the demon possessed, which you are not ignorant to. You've been watching movies about it for decades, and what you did not know is that it's based on real life. This is... again, there's a level of entertainment that is absolutely hyperbolic in these movies made for entertainment purposes, but based on what is the truth. The living dead. Okay, they are engaging in a criminal pattern of conduct, and they are the demon possessed, and that's the one of the main reasons why they are so maniacal and so imprudent. Because you're talking about what's supposed to be some criminal enterprise. Well, if you're so elite, if you're so capable and competent, if people are paying you for your services, why am I embarrassing you so much? Why do you lose all of your mind and just start exposing everything about what you should have been keeping? If you wanted to try to make someone look crazy, then you might want to refrain from doing so much, because I'm getting all of it on video, right? Well, that boat has sailed. It's already over there. This is an entity that is convicted. I'm not operating from, I mean, I am, but I'm speaking on that which I stated at the outset, how this is ending. Okay? My perspective is one, this is already over, and this is delusion. You're talking about a criminal case. You're in the midst of a criminal case, and you are literally in front of the military tribunal. You're getting committed. They're watching it unfold. You're getting committed. Moreover, you're talking about what is coming from a perspective of faith. I already know how this ends, and that's how I started this investigation with that truth. This is what they're doing, and this is what I'm going to prove about what they're doing, and then I'm going to remind you about what I said, what I told you that they're doing. That was my thesis at the outset. The entity that's engaging in this pattern of conduct is doing so while they are witnessing their own exposure, and they're witnessing their exposure not just for criminal activity, but it's the exposure of a non-human race. Okay? A non-human race, Satan's race. And listen, because there's a play on words here. Satan's race doesn't have a color. Satan's race doesn't have a specific creed or a nation of origin. Okay, a national origin, excuse me, or a particular language, or a specific industry that they work in or come from, or an income bracket, or a specific type of background or skill set or expertise. Satan's race is inclusive of any and everyone. It's about a spirit that has no standards, any and everyone. Satan wants everybody. Anybody and everybody that he can get access to. And within this illusion of this system, Satan wants you to believe that we're separated by the color of our skin. And he confirms that by creating what are systems that separate us amongst color. Okay? That does not make it actually true. It makes it a reality, but that does not make it an actual truth with regard to our nature and what separates us. There are those that are going straight to hell. They're in darkness. And there are those that are that serve the Lord God, who are alive, in other words, spiritually alive and spiritually dead. That's what separates us. That's it. That is it. Now you're looking at the dead who are unraveling. They're unraveling. You're watching them unravel. You're listening to them unravel. And you know what the consequences are? The defunding of an entire state. Okay, you're talking about what is the prosecution of a people, of a population, of a whole government body. That's what you're looking at. Ones that were never elite in the first place, ones that were never capable in the first place. They thought that they were going to eat up everybody that they were going to target. They're going to eat you up, eat your flesh, steal your children and consume their feces and act like none of that's happening while they are living an illusion as though they're humans like you and I. That's what they plan to do. This is Satan's plan. It's not, and the purpose of the P.O.C. is to show you they're not even humans. That's why they can't control themselves. That's why they can't hide it. And right, you're talking about people like Rodriguez. He's going to prison. This fool's going to prison. While the entity is stalking me and up in California, and you're worried about one raggedy video. Now, with regard to the bigger picture, I've got over 10,000. Okay? With regard to the scope of things, it's very key evidence. It's highly probative. It's detailed regarding what was said, what was done. You're going to use that in a criminal case, in a courtroom. However, you're talking about the greater perspective. Do you think I need another video for Rodriguez to be in prison? I don't. But I'm diligently maintaining a prosecution supportive of with facts and evidence, and even if you stole it and I didn't get it, he's still going to prison. But my point is that the weight of the evidence in this case, the inability for the government to, they're entirely illegitimate. No courtroom is going to treat the government like they are trustworthy. No courtroom, no legitimate courtroom is going to do that. I have already proven, if not the entire case, which I've already proven an irrebuttable presumption of public corruption, meaning the government that claims that it's X, Y, and Z absolutely does not mean that it's X, Y, and Z at all. Everything is up for question, everything. And the government has gone out of its way to show you how unstable, to show you how corrupt, to show you how relentless, to show you how desperate, to show you how psychotic, how obsessive, how delusional, how unhinged it is. They showed you that themselves. This is an entity, and I want to be clear, the government is the people of the state. These are not private citizens. All right, so this is an entity that's engaging in it, and the entity is also not just a public entity, the government. The government is made up of actors that are acting directly and vicariously. And the entity is also a demonic entity. It's straight out of hell, and they're headed to hell. And on their way to hell, they're going to pay me, and they're also going to suffer extreme humiliation. Okay, that is Satan's lot. Including while you're stalking me in helicopter, you're humiliating yourself. You are confirming my identity. Not that I don't need Satan to vouch for anything, but Satan cannot lie. While he is so bothered and also obsessed and consumed with me, it speaks volumes. And it also contends against that which these demons, this government body, the people of the state have lied regarding my character and who I am and what I'm doing and what it is that I'm talking about and how I don't know. Everything that the entity doing, including stalking me by helicopter, testifies to the truth. Alrighty, if nobody's a big deal, if it's not that serious, it's not that big, then why are you spending millions of dollars stalking me by helicopter? And you absolutely are. Okay, because the ashy co-defendant that's stalking me, sitting inside of that library, he's not going to Ontario and being at the Ovid Family Community Library. Now, he can because there's stalkers that are obsessed with me and will show up in another city. They've done that. But he's not going to the Ovid Family Community Library where the demons in the helicopters, they're obsessed with me. They're obsessed with my aura. They're obsessed with my oratory skills. They're obsessed with how many times I blink per minute. They're obsessed with the length of my lashes. They're obsessed with my nail beds. They're obsessed with my hair follicles, my cuticles, my taste buds. They're obsessed with everything about me, and they are very much following me in things like helicopters because it's that serious for them. But it's really not that serious because it's already over. It's over for them. And the proof of their death therein lies, which is the evidence of stalking an American citizen in things like planes and helicopters. Non-humans are engaging in that. Those are not humans. All right, that's the entity that's engaging in that, and it is the behavior of a population of creatures who are engaging in what is a system that is, by necessity, it is God's will that it is known worldwide. All right, and it is also God's will that Satan be fully exposed in this regard. But it is currently 7:12 p.m. I wanted to give that discussion. Throughout this discussion, I want to be clear, Bill Velto, he's being federally prosecuted for terrorism. There is a case to prosecute public officials for criminal activity where you are subject to the pattern of conduct in that city. They are facilitating, funding terrorism, and you will be federally prosecuted for it. But moreover, Bill Velto is committing kidnapping, and he is still engaging in the conspiracy to murder me while I'm inside of the building of the Upland Public Library at the same Veterans Monument Civic Center area where the City Hall is at. I'm going to prosecute him, and he's going to be unsuccessful in that. This is that conviction, and you will be federally prosecuted just like any other gang stalking mayor. Okay, those that engaged in kidnapping me, and I want to be clear, the entire entity kidnapped me. But you're going to prosecute. You're going to serve time for engaging in what is funding the kidnappers that put their hands on me, that stole my property, that engaged in any manner of collateral harms while you were conspiring my murder in the first place. You, my friends, are the ones that are going to prison for it. Okay, and this is how you're establishing federal policy, because you're talking about every mayor in the state of California committed a kidnapping. The state of California is engaged in surveillance. Every single last person committed kidnapping. All right, but nonetheless, this is the P.O.C. The entity is engaging in stalking and is engaged in what is an ongoing, futile, but nonetheless obsessive, because the mind is gone. These are dead. They're dead creatures. The mind is gone. So they're focused on, the video. The video is going on the internet regardless. And moreover, we're at the juncture, in my evidence, you're going to prison regardless, but these are creatures that are not thinking about that. They're not thinking at all. And you need to be mindful of that. These are monitoring spirits. They take lives without thinking. They do harm to people without thinking. They will engage in all manner of what a normal, healthy, reasonable person would think twice about, not a demon. Okay, so you're talking about throwing your car off of the side of the freeway for a little bit of money, or just to end it all because you can't take it. Okay, because your girlfriend, that's a demon, also broke up with you and got with your other boy, a homeboy, that's a demon as well. They're all demons. But these are, again, this is the entity that's living this worthless existence. And this is the reality of the demon possessed. And this is how you know, this is how far down the rabbit hole. You're talking about a population of dead people. For you to, as a society, to engage in targeting people for sport, these are dead people. And this is a people that the Lord God is judging. He is exposing them. And he's also making sure that that exposure is international. All right, that's what this is about. This is not just you fell and you need to repent and come back to Jesus, and you know, there's still they've been killing people. They've been targeting, monitoring, engaging in black magic, voodoo. They have engaged in what is allegiance to Satan for a very long time, for decades, centuries, administration after administration. That's what's gang stalking in California. They're awaiting their death. They know it's coming. That's what's gang stalking in California. Alrighty, this is the P.O.C. It's currently 7:16 p.m. The entity is stalking as a population. The dead people are just following me around. I am the only live person. I am the only one that is actually alive, and these are dead people. And the government's going to also be subject to a prosecution for that, because that is the reality, and because this is the reflected in the criminal activity that this population is engaged in. They're going to compensate for that, but they're also going to be criminally prosecuted for it. All right, this is the P.O.C. It's 7:16 p.m.